Ukraine or the war between Ukraine and Russia.
On September 13th, the world almost ended. Everybody watching this program almost died. I almost died. The world almost died. Why? Because if the insanity of the British government and those in NATO and some in the United States had manifested itself in giving Ukraine the green light to use Storm Shadow missiles against target inside Russia, Russia would have responded. Possibly not nuclear, but it would have eliminated Kiev as a modern functioning city, and it would have struck targets in the United Kingdom, in Europe, on the European continent, and in the United States. And then we would have probably responded doctrinally by using low-yield nuclear weapons in an effort to escalate, to de-escalate, to send a signal to Russia that you can't do this. And then Russia would have responded doctrinally by releasing the totality of its nuclear arsenal against the West. And then we would have responded and we would have died. 72 minutes is all it takes for the total destruction of the planet. Do you understand you almost died this weekend? I'm not joking. It's not a joke. I'm not kidding. You almost died and you didn't even know it.
The global elites want a world war and they want it now. There is no clearer path for global domination that provides an escape hatch from the crimes these minions of anti-humanity must be held accountable for.
It was a night of terror for Lebanon. This was the capital city. The Israeli airstrikes have been plenty and often and terrifying. And there's been no stopping. Tremendous devastation as the Israeli forces hunted down one man, the leader of Hezbollah, who'd been meeting deep underground. Parts of Dahir in the Beirut southern suburbs have been reduced to ashes. This is a stronghold of the militant group and its loyalists, but it's also home to hundreds of thousands of people. It took until early afternoon for the militant group's television channel to declare their leader's death. Almost immediately, there was another Israeli strike on Beirut. Just a very big bang has just gone off. Lebanese journalists are getting very tense. There's a lot of shouting and women screaming actually in the background. Some of Nasrallah's supporters immediately took to the streets. This was the news they'd been dreading. There'll be much mourning, but also anger at his loss, a kick in the guts for the militant group. And already there are early reports of armed men roaming the streets. The militant leader hasn't been seen in public for years. The last time he gave a speech from a secret location was just over a week ago, after the coordinated booby trap pages and radio explosions used by Hezbollah members went off throughout Lebanon. He said then that Israel had dealt the group an unprecedented blow and committed a massacre against civilians. Nearly 40 people were killed, including women and children, and thousands injured. Hassan Nasrallah has a unique place in Hezbollah, a founding father of the group and political, military and religious leader for more than 3 decades, as well as the leader who beat back the Israelis during 2 invasions. But the Israelis saw Nasrallah as enemy number 1 in Hezbollah, and the multiple strikes which Iran says used powerful bunker busters killed several commanders around him, as well as an Iranian general from the Revolutionary Guards.
For decades, Hezbollah, under the command of Hassan Nasrallah, orchestrated countless attacks against innocent people. Hassan Nasrallah had the blood of thousands of men, women, children on his hands.
But the airstrikes have sparked considerable terror in the capital, with many in the southern suburbs fleeing with their families en masse, moving from place to place overnight to try to find sanctuary. They camped on beaches, on pavements, along streets, in their cars, anywhere they could find out of the way of the strikes. Emergency shelters were quickly set up on top of those already running. But there's simply not enough to cope with the huge humanitarian need right now, with aid agencies warning the situation is near to catastrophic.
It's really try to manage the chaos. By hours, the situation changed. This center was not here yesterday. Maybe 100 people, you see people moving in and moving out, some people from the street coming in, some people here finding some siblings and moving in the location.
To be honest, no one feels safe anywhere, but no one is even thinking about their personal safety. Looking around us, today we didn't even think if we're coming or not, we just moved.
The Israeli raids are by no means over yet, with no let-up in the airstrikes. Hezbollah is fighting back with volleys of rockets, indicating even the loss of their leader and all this devastation is not going to stop them. Right now, their supporters are consumed with grief. Lebanon's a country with many Hezbollah critics, but its population is bonded right now with a communal worry and fear about the impact this will have on this volatile region. Alex Crawford, Sky News, Beirut.
It is the worst storm to hit Florida's Big Bend region ever. Destruction from Hurricane Helene extends hundreds of miles across several states tonight. And as Fox's Rebecca Castor reports, at least 40 people are dead and millions are without power.
The worst of Helene's powerful winds that knocked over trees like the ones behind me are over. But now it is the heavy rain that is still slamming communities across the southeast. Flooding in Georgia, Florida, and the Carolinas leading to hundreds of rescue calls. And emergency service workers say they're struggling to prioritize the most crucial ones.
We have 911 calls that we cannot respond to at this time, and there's some areas that we can't even reach just because of roads being closed, roads being washed out, and not being able to get there.
A flash flood emergency still unfolding across parts of North Carolina, including the city of Asheville, where officials are seeing some of the worst flooding in decades. Governor Roy Cooper is urging residents to stay off the roads.
We've lost too many North Carolinians who've driven into floodwaters. So turn around, don't drown.
Folks there now trying to make sense of the devastation.
I've never seen anything bad. Typically, if we get a bad storm, Gilmore Village will flood, but nothing like this.
And back where this storm first made landfall, along Florida's west coast, are scenes of destruction. Michael Bobbitt, who lives in Cedar Key, on the verge of tears as he surveys his neighborhood covered in debris.
For the scenes we're seeing around the island, entire houses are missing or flattened in on themselves.
Nearly 4 million in the storm's path are without power, and officials say they expect that number to continue to grow as Helene keeps moving north. In Tallahassee, Florida, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.